just have this idea that no matter who you are in the world, no matter what your problem is, that's Britain's problem. Yep. So the question is it really Britain's problem?
A shocking legal decision has ignited a firestorm in Britain. A Palestinian family from Gaza, 6 individuals, has just been granted the right to move to the UK under a policy designed for Ukrainian refugees. Outrage, controversy, and a political battle unlike any other are now unfolding. This story begins with the Ukraine Family Scheme, an initiative intended to provide sanctuary to Ukrainians fleeing war. But a legal loophole has now allowed a Palestinian family to gain entry, igniting one of the fiercest immigration debates in recent history. A judge ruled in favour of the family, sparking fury from UK leaders who argue this was never the intent of the scheme. Is Britain's immigration system being exploited? And what happens next?
A family of 6 from Gaza have applied to live in Britain using this scheme, and a judge has now ruled in their favour. This is not what the scheme was designed to do. This decision is completely wrong. It cannot be allowed to stand. Is the government planning to appeal on any points of law? And if so, which ones?
The government's response was immediate and furious. Prime Minister Keir Starmer administration is scrambling to appeal the ruling and close the loophole that allowed this to happen. They argue that the courts, not Parliament, are deciding immigration policy, undermining the government's authority.
They presided over record high levels of immigration. Reached nearly 1 million. So before she lectures us, I think she needs to reflect on her own record here.
We should take people who are more culturally compatible, people that understand the British sort of ways of life and traditions and mores. And I don't think that's necessarily true of people from cultures that are very, very different. And then, you know, there's this whole other argument we've talked about before about judges making these kinds of decisions. They've got absolutely no, I think, proper right to do this, either morally or politically. And certainly they're not paying attention to all of these other catastrophic effects on local communities either.
The opposition, however, is calling the government's outrage a smokescreen, accusing them of failing to control immigration for years. But beneath the politics lies an even bigger question. Is Britain on the brink of a massive immigration shift?
Mr. Speaker, he is the Prime Minister now. The people out there want to know what he is going to do about the situation.
Better, we're making things worse for Brits, and we shouldn't be taking in all of these people when we can't fix their problems, and we have no moral obligation to.
This decision could set a dangerous precedent. If one legal loophole allowed this case, what's stopping thousands or even millions of others from applying? With nearly 1 million people arriving in the UK last year alone, experts warn that unless action is taken, the floodgates could open wider than ever before. Could this ruling lead to an immigration surge beyond what Britain can handle? And what about national security?
He's not listening. He's too busy defending the international human rights law framework.
The battle now extends beyond Parliament. Lawyers argue this ruling aligns with human rights protections, specifically the right to family life under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. But the government claims this is precisely the problem, that British immigration laws are too easily manipulated. The Prime Minister himself is under pressure to take drastic action, even if it means defying international human rights law.
But the Prime Minister literally wrote a book on the European Convention on Human Rights. This is a situation where we need to put our national interest before the ECHR. Does he agree that we should legislate even if lawyers warn that this might be incompatible with human rights law?
She complains about scripted answers and questions. Her script doesn't allow her to listen to the answer.
So if they get in, then anybody from anywhere could get in.
Yeah, and why are our judges in this country folding to international law and the ECHR so easily, so often, to the detriment of this country itself?
So, what's next? Here's where the battle lines are drawn. Cologne. 1. The UK government is actively working to close this legal loophole immediately. 2. An appeal may be filed, But if it fails, new legislation will be introduced to tighten immigration laws. 3. Controversial new policies could redefine how Britain grants citizenship and indefinite leave to remain. 4. The public is divided. Some see this as a humanitarian victory, while others fear it's a dangerous precedent.
Fenton, what do you make of it?
It's an extraordinary story. This scheme was for Ukrainians. And a Gazan family turns up. I mean, all you need to do is sort of ask them a question in Ukrainian. And then if they can't answer it, you say, no, sorry, you can't come into this scheme. But they're Gazans, they're not Ukrainians.
This is a defining moment in Britain's immigration history, and the stakes couldn't be higher. What do you think? Should the government shut this loophole immediately? Or does this case highlight a humanitarian obligation? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss breaking news updates that shape our world.
What will happen next?
2 million. 2 million people now might well have the right to come to the UK. Well, where are they going to go? They're going to go to Dartford? No, that's full. Dover's busy. I mean, there's no room for these people.
I mean, do these judges ever think of the practicalities of things? You know, where are the schools, where are the roads, where are the hospital places?
Well, they don't, because they don't think about that, because that's not in the framework. That's not in the legal framework to measure a judgment or to make a judgment. They make a judgment presented with the facts that are there, that are presented to them. And it seems as if there's quite a low threshold. Not that people shouldn't have a right to live peacefully, not that people shouldn't have a right for shelter. That's a fundamental human right. However, this will open the floodgates. We had the story on Monday of this week, covered by the Telegraph as well, about the Albanian family who could not be extradited back to Albania because of the son's dislike for chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Now, this is sound bites. This is, stuff coming from the courts. But this is the court of public opinion. And again, it seems to be an absolute slap in the face for the populist vote in this country and for people to realise what they can do and take control. There doesn't seem to be any control.
Well, also, there's no scrutiny of these judges. I would like Mr. Upper Tribunal Judge Hugo Norton-Taylor to come to GB News or to other broadcasting outlets are available, and explain himself. Because at the moment there is this sort of halo around the judiciary where they can't be held to account for their judgments. This judgment is so off-kilter that I think he needs to come out and say why he's reached it.